Hello and welcome to another session in English language, and today we are going to be looking at essay writing, and under that we're going to be looking at story writing, and also we're going to take a register on bakery. But before that, let us review the previous lesson. Welcome back. Like I said, we are looking at essay writing, and under that we are considering story writing. Now we know that there are different aspects of essay writing, but our focus today is on story writing, or what you call imaginative or creative writing. Okay, so story is a description of events and people. Okay, is an attempt to describe places, people, things. Okay, and the whole essence of that is either to advocate or entertain. Okay, so that's very important that we take note of that. Right? Then we could have love stories, we could have detective story, we could have adventure, we could have science fiction story. So all of these are examples of story writing. There are two types of story writing always tested in the West Africa Examination Council. Okay, and first is that a story that is meant to illustrate a particular saying. Okay, now they say something like, write a story to illustrate the saying, as one makes one's bed, so one must lie on it. So you're writing a story that illustrates a particular saying. But the other aspect is that you have to write a story which must end with a particular expression. Okay, so for instance, tell a story that ends with the advice, cut your coat according to your cloth. Okay, cut your coat according to your cloth. Okay, so those are the two. One illustrates a particular saying, one ends with a particular expression. Now, what are the features of story writing? What are those things we must observe? First, we must know that the story must have a heading. Okay, so until you settle that, don't begin writing. Okay, it must have a heading. And preferably, I told you, write your headings in uppercase letter, or what you call capital letters. Okay, so you must have a heading. Then the introductory paragraph, okay, is also very important. But please, like I said, in the introductory paragraph, please, your story must be interesting. Okay, your story, alright, must be able to arouse the interest of the reader. Then we have the body of the story. Now, the body of the story, like we know, should contain at least 3 paragraphs and should follow each other in a sequential manner. Then the concluding paragraph, okay, concluding paragraph should also be a resolution, alright, on everything that has been discussed in the previous or early paragraphs. Okay, so you begin to bring your story to an end. Okay, you begin to bring home or drive home what you have been discussing all the while. So here's the sample question. The early bird catches the worm. This is an idiomatic expression. Okay, the early bird catches the worm. So first, like I said, you must begin with a heading. So the heading reads, the early bird catches the worm. Then the introduction, paragraph 1 is the introduction. So, and the introduction is, we have the protagonist, okay, and here his birth, how he was born, his background, his community, assignment. Okay, then in paragraph 2 we talk about the person's religious life. Alright, then in paragraph 3, then we begin to deliver at this level, what actually, led to all of that. And please, it's very important that we take note of that. Then, especially when we are writing on project topics, okay, so it's very important that we expose ourselves to a couple of information, especially on story writing. The more you expose yourself to information or knowledge on this, the better you are at an advantage. What do I mean by that? Remember, I told you something about stories that they can be imaginary or they can be factual. Alright, so it means that you can be real life stories, and you can also be imagined. Okay, so we have to take note of that. Then you now tell us what he actually went through, how you had to go to school, the challenges he came across. Then in paragraph 5, how he was awarded, the opportunity to study, computer science in the first degree, and how he was faithful to studies, how he was not distracted, how he, graduated from the university or tertiary institution with an outstanding result, and how today he's the MD of Bright Telecom Company, like the early bird catches the worm. Okay, so with that, we can attempt, that would be my advice to you, launch into questions. Okay, start attempting questions on story writing. So the more stories you've written, the better you are at that. Right? So let's move on to what you call vocabulary development, and that is register on bakery. Okay, so when we say to knead a dough, to knead a dough actually means to combine. Okay, that's what they do, to combine. So kneading is the action of combining the dough, okay, on a hard surface. You've seen them put that in, okay, haven't mixed the flour, the milk, the sugar, and all of that. So you now see them begin to, apply pressure, of the dough on a hard surface. Then we have what we call fermentation. Now, in case of fermentation, we allow the yeast to consume starch and sugar, okay, and produce what you call CO2 gas and alcohol. Then the act of baking. So to bake means to cook with dry radiant heat in an oven, okay, to expose to heat, okay, to process any confectionery, with dry radiant heat from an oven. Then we have what you call the batter. Now, the batter is a mixture of flour, eggs, dairy, and other ingredients in liquid form, right? Enough to pour. That's what we call a batter. Okay, where you mix milk, sugar, sometimes a bit of some alcohol, depending on what you're producing, and your flour, eggs. So all of these things, when you begin to stir them, mix them, then we begin to beat. Beat means to stir together very rapidly in order to incorporate air. Okay, and you can do that using a fork, a whisk, or an electric mixer, or what you call a modern day food processor. Okay, then we have to blend, and that is stirring the ingredients together until they are well mixed. It's a whole lot different from beating, but here you are stirring together until the ingredients have been properly mixed. Then we have caramelization. Caramelization is a chemical process that causes sugar and starch to burn brown when heated. Okay, so when you remember, baking has to do with exposing the confectionery to dry heat from an oven. Okay, so then the sugar begins to turn brown. Okay, the white sugar begins to turn brown. Then you add a bit of cream. Okay, so that's when you actually how do you come up with your cream? You come up with your cream through, the mixture of beating together of sugar and butter. Okay, until the color has changed and you've achieved that creamy, both the texture and color. Then we have what you call fondant, which is a candy paste that can be used to make candies and coverings for cakes. So you've seen cakes that have coverings before. We call that a fondant. Okay, so that is that. Then we move further. We have what you call leavening. Alright, so leaven actually means to produce gas. Okay, to produce gas as a result of baking. Okay, then like I told you, we have what you call a whisk. A whisk is a kitchen tool or utensil made of what? Wire loops that tend to add air as you begin to what? Mix together. Okay, then we have what you call yeast. Alright, then we have chopping. To chop means to use a knife or a chopping knife to cut something into small pieces, especially when you're making something like chin-chin. Okay, fried chin-chin. Then we have what you call a muffin pan. A muffin pan is a pan with multiple cylindrical indents inside of it, used to create the shape of muffin and cupcakes. So if you've taken cupcakes before, they only take the shape of what you call the muffin pan. Then also, when you say simmer, okay, you allow something to simmer. That is actually the process of bringing a liquid to a temperature that is slightly below its boiling point. So every liquid has a boiling point. So when you allow something to simmer, it means you allow it to cool off at least below its boiling point. So with this, we've come to the end of today's lesson. Thank you for joining. To refresh your memory and recall all that was taught in this lesson, I would encourage and love that you take the test that would appear on your screen.